John, this is exciting for the town of Southbridge. Can you briefly describe what they're doing here?
Well, I think that, first off, it's a training center to educate all police officers in the state to a common standard, and it's actually a very high standard that we're going to be being educated to. The fact that they've picked Southbridge is a feather in Southbridge's cap. Obviously, I think it's a good location because we're centrally located in the state. We have the premier conference center. People are saying it's the premier conference center in the county. I say it's the premier conference center in the state. It's got that hometown feel. It's not overly big, but it's got state-of-the-art, 21st century accommodations. There's dorm space here as well. There's dining space. People don't have to go out necessarily during the day, but at night when they're free, they can go to the businesses in town to grab a bite to eat, to find some entertainment. And I think that thanks to the Baker-Polito administration, to the various Department of Public Safety offices, to the state legislature, Senator Fatman and Representative Durant, and also to the town manager, who did a lot of work in working with Chip Norton, who is the manager of the facility here. I think that that allows Southbridge to really claim a big feather in its cap. That there was a lot of foresight put into getting this training facility here. The DOD wasn't going to last forever. Times change, methods of education change, and I think that the forethought that Chip Norton put into getting this project up and off the ground and leading the charge to get the program to come to Southbridge is just extraordinary. The fact that he felt that he had the facility, and he does, and the fact that he felt that Southbridge offers a wonderful opportunity, and it does, is paramount. And I'm glad to see that it was recognized that we are a gem here in Southbridge and in South Central Massachusetts.
Hotel. But what it really does is it serves for a great place for our local law enforcement. Our police department's right across the street. But it puts us on the map as a key community, flagship community for training of our local law enforcement agencies and our men and women on the street. But it also recognizes the efforts that we've made here in town. As I mentioned when I was allotted to speak a few minutes here, and I was honored to speak, that we put a lot of money into our downtown and we're continuing to develop it. And I think as a host community, this is going to pay us dividends in the way of our revitalization efforts for our local economic community, that the people that come in, as they see Southbridge and they see what we're doing here, hopefully they'll take the time to go out and visit our businesses and shops, have lunch here, utilize the hotel. So I see nothing but a great upside to this coming to the community, and again, it puts us on the map, and we have great partnership with the local business community, including Mr. Norton, but it's also nice to be recognized by the Baker-Polito administration and their efforts and their choosing of Southbridge as a place to educate and train their officers. And the interesting thing is the name of this academy is going to be the Bridge Academy, and actually what I see is this is an economic bridge from the past to the future, because we're changing how we do our economic development here in the town of Southbridge, where we were strictly manufacturing, but now through our zoning and our efforts, I think we're going to become more of a destination. We're working towards a rail trail, we're looking towards new businesses and restaurants and housing. This will tie into the notion of live, work, play. People can come here, train here, stay here. So at the end of the day, it's going to afford people the ability to come and live in Southbridge, and people that are already living here to stay here. This, as well as many of the other projects on the horizon, will create an environment where other people will be attracted. So, as we continue to expand, it'll gain more attraction from outside of the Commonwealth, and this gets us a lot of attention. So I think it's only going to pay great dividends for the town.
Welcome. Thanks, everybody, for coming today. For those of you who are not familiar with this facility, this was built, believe it or not, 20 years ago, and it's still in terrific condition. It was built as a residential training facility for the Department of Defense, and as their contract waned over the years, we became more of a non-government facility, and have become today really the premier conference center in central Massachusetts, based on basically our infrastructure, as you can see here, this auditorium, which is almost one of a kind here in central Massachusetts, but also the overall quality of the space, the service we provide, as well as the location, which is really central to Massachusetts and central to New England. We got introduced to MPTC and Bob Frill about 2.5 years ago, and ever since then we've been working towards placing a program here in this facility. And when the second floor became available, which you toured today, with the end of the Department of Defense contract, it was a natural that MPTC basically take over that space to meet their central mass training requirements. We will be, as I understand from Bob, the largest training facility for MPTC in central Massachusetts. And once again, really based on the quality of the facility, the availability of spaces, not only the second floor that MPTC will be leasing for a number of years, but also access to and use of spaces such as this auditorium. We are, needless to say, really excited about this relationship and very proud that MPTC has chosen us to support their training for men and women in law enforcement in Massachusetts. We're honored, and we stand ready to support that effort. We have some wonderful guests that were nice enough to show up today. Our first, everybody knows, our Lieutenant Governor, who's been a terrific friend of Central Mass, Southbridge, and specifically this project, Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito.
Good afternoon. It's great to be here, be back here this afternoon. I want to first recognize and thank Chip and Craig Blaze, who's not here, but I believe Roberta is here from WBDC. Thank you both for thinking about the new use for this facility and inviting the law enforcement trainers of our Commonwealth to come and check it out and see if this could be a good fit and a permanent home for training here in our Commonwealth. I want to just thank also Bob Ferrulo, who, former chief, always chief, and believes in the quality and the high standards of training to make sure that the men and women who wear the uniform to protect and serve the communities and the people of the Commonwealth get the best support in training and techniques for them to be able to do their jobs. And we are so grateful that you would take your experiences and bring your energy and enthusiasm to this process and to this program and to this facility and the others that you're setting up all across our Commonwealth. I want to thank Secretary Reedy and your team and Colonel Mason and all of your EOPS team, as well as former Secretary Tom Turco, who's here in spirit, but he was at that meeting back in 2019 when we were first discussing this facility along with various chiefs to get their perspectives and to get their buy-in, frankly, that this would make sense for the future of law enforcement. Now, that's an important date because that was in 2019. This training program and facility was thought of and being developed before Governor Baker signed into law the police reform legislation in December 2020. And I stress that because it does show by example that we have long been committed in this Commonwealth to training and supporting law enforcement with the state-of-the-art best techniques and strategies so that they can do their jobs to protect the people of the Commonwealth even better. Obviously, this was a collaborative process when the legislation was being developed through the legislative process, including not only our colleagues in the legislature, but members of the Black and Latino communities, and listening to the caucus's perspectives, and designing a program through law that could best represent the public safety program for the future of law enforcement, frankly, and the future of this Commonwealth. And as we come to this room today, feel very proud that Massachusetts once again leads the nation in terms of police reform, best practices, and strategies to support law enforcement, to support the community, and to build a public safety program and infrastructure that will last for a very long time. And it will last for a long time because it will incorporate the learnings in the field and always look for ways to update and be an innovative around how to do your best police work. And that kind of thing is going to manifest itself right here in this facility. So thank you all for working so hard for this opportunity. Now, I know you're going to hear from Bob Frullo a little bit more about the why this has to happen. We have passed a law, and that's what brings us here today to make sure that all of the officers are able to meet the standards and requirements set out in the legislation. The vast majority of officers in our Commonwealth meet those minimum training standards required by the police reform law. However, some departments and officers need additional training so that they can meet the requirements. So those, the Massachusetts Peace Officers Standards and Training, often known now as Post-C, requires that this training take place. So that's what's going to happen here. And you're going to have Chief Frullo and others be part of the team of professionals doing the training. It is free for all local police departments to utilize the Bridge Academy services. There are no barriers for getting police officers into these classrooms, into this training program, because the costs are paid by the revenue program that we set up here in the Commonwealth to do so. And you will also understand that this facility is the first of its kind. I love that you call it the Bridge Academy because it is bridging police officers who don't have those hours of trainings into the state of being fully trained so that all officers, whatever the police agency they are a part of, are being trained to the same standards with the same curriculum and being exposed to the same amount of hours so that they possess the requisite skills and trainings and practices that they need to go out there and be best informed when they are confronted with unique situations that are inevitably a part of their work every single day. So I know as a lieutenant governor, but more so as a citizen of this Commonwealth, that makes me feel great. That makes me feel safe, and it makes me feel responsible that the people that we set up to wear the uniform can go out there, fortified and energized with the best strategies and know-how, and that the people of this Commonwealth, no matter where they live, a city, an urban neighborhood, a rural community, suburban community, no matter where, that they will have the best support and protection with the people who wear that uniform here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That means something. And I'm very proud of all of you for being a part of the process, including Representative Peter Durant and your colleagues for making this possible. Congratulations to all of you. The best is yet to come. Congratulations.
Thanks, Karen. If you're looking for a job at the end of the year, early next, we can hire you for marketing MPTC facility here in Southbridge. Next, we're fortunate enough to have today the Secretary of Public Safety, Terry Reedy, to say a few words. I learned just a few minutes ago, Secretary Reedy is a Worcester guy and former Super Bowl football player. Was that true with Tim Murray? Secretary Reedy.
Thanks, Chip. It's an honor to be here at the opening of this MPTC facility here in Southbridge. The reason we're here is because of Chip, Mike, and I know Craig's not here, so I want to thank the three of them. They've done an unbelievable amount of work to make this facility what it is today for us. and the lieutenant governor's being modest. She was the driving force of getting this facility off the ground and running here in Southbridge. She's done it throughout this administration's history. She does it up to the current days, the present, and she's going to continue to do it into the future. But she's been the person that's been driving this and bringing the support in helping us get this off the ground. So without her, we're not here. She alluded to the other person that's not here, that the colonel and I were just talking. He's probably on a beach somewhere, much warmer than here. But Tom Turco, along with Bob Ferrillo, had the vision and had the foresight to recognize this facility and how it could fit into their theories and their focus on training police officers in Massachusetts inside the best facilities in the state, which hasn't been the case in the past. It has been under this administration. There are a number of really fine buildings, facilities that are online, that are coming online, that's going to help us for decades to come training police officers. Because I think we all know it's really hard to be a police officer anywhere in this country, especially under current times. Even more so now. I don't wear a badge, but I have a lot of friends, professionally and personally, who are police officers, who every day go to work. And I know it may sound cliche in other aspects of employment, but they may not come back at the end of their shift to their family and friends. And what we owe them as a state, as a community, as a local community, is to train them, to give them everything that they need to become the best officers possible in the 21st century. And to do it in a way that makes sure they're safe, the community's safe, and if we do that with these facilities in the training that we have here in Massachusetts, I don't think there's any better effort or goal from government, because it helps everyone. Now, I think personally, my personal opinion, that Massachusetts have some of the best trained officers in the entire country. And we know that because of going through police reform. Because there were a lot of things that people talked about that were going on other parts of the country. And do they train to this? Officers are allowed to do this in Massachusetts? We were so ahead of the curve. And people didn't realize, we already train this way. We already do this. And the reason we're doing it is because of people like Bob Ferrillo at the MPTC and his team. They've been cutting edge training before any of the police reform talks or any of the police reform initiatives began to take hold here in Massachusetts and across the country. They were already doing it. And he's doing it because of who he is and his background and the team that he has. I know he has a number of the MPTC employees here that go unnoticed, but they're the ones. They're the backbone of training in Massachusetts, and it's really important that they get recognized. The other group that's really important to recognize are the members of the MPTC committee. Jim Hicks, Police Chief Jim Hicks, is the president of that group, and I know we have people here from that group. They're full-time chiefs, police officers who volunteer, sometimes get strong-armed to take this endeavor, because they get a lot of, they're dealing with individual issues in their region, in their communities. They're not getting paid. They have their full-time job, but their experience, their dedication, their intelligence, and the way they can deal with people serve this state beyond measure, and people don't know that. And I know I think they all know what I feel of them. I know what the lieutenant governor feels about them. It's their vision too, to have facilities like this. So in closing, I want to thank the town of Southbridge for helping us. This is going to be a great partnership, and I want to thank you all for being here today, and check back when this place is really running, when you see law enforcement officers in those classrooms working hard, training, becoming better police officers. It's going to be a sight to see, and I thank you all, and I thank you for listening to me for a few moments. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry. Our next guest, you've heard his name kicked around today, Bob Ferrillo. I met Bob 2.5 years ago, and he walked into this place and had the vision immediately of what the training facility would look like for MPTC, and he's carried that vision for the last 2.5 years. We didn't mention that coming out of the COVID, MPTC did a lot of training in this facility, not on the second floor, but here in this auditorium and on the meeting space of the first floor. So they've been a regular guest of ours for the last 6 to 9 months, which has been great, and we're excited about continuing that on. A man with a lot of passion and vision, Bob Ferrillo.
Thanks, Chip. Briefly, if I could just add a few more to my comments upstairs, which I touched on a lot of this stuff. My name is Bob Ferrillo. I'm a retired police chief from the city of Woburn. And in August of 2019, it was my privilege to be asked by the Baker-Polito administration and Secretary Turco to join the MPTC to try to revitalize training in the Commonwealth. With rocks in my head and fire in my belly, I took that challenge. It's a great honor to open this world-class facility. In this very room, over the last 2 years in the midst of COVID, we've trained over 6,000 man-days of training in such important cases, important topics as fair and impartial policing, civil rights. And we didn't just take 65-year-old retired police chiefs like myself. We brought in cutting-edge people from the University of South Florida, a young woman that grew up in South Africa in the midst of apartheid, to talk about civil rights training. We're pushing the envelope, and it's because of the support of the administration, the support of the secretary, the support of my friends at the state police and the other agencies that we're really pushing this. This afternoon, I'd like to briefly talk about where we're going to go with this building, what it's going to take, what it's going to look like in the years ahead, and the impact that we're going to have on the cities and towns to make a difference. As part of the 2020 police reform law, the legislature charged the MPTC with providing incumbent local officers with the opportunity and necessity to earn certification required by law and administered by the Post-C administration, to provide consistent training to all police officers across the Commonwealth. And as a state representative said during the negotiations to get to this point, whether it's a police officer on the New York border in western Massachusetts or in downtown Boston, these police officers need to be trained the same to carry forth the mission of taking care of the public. We began to design a bridge program to bring up to speed the officers that weren't trained. And we focused on some high liability areas: firearms, defensive tactics, and motor vehicle operations. For town managers and city mayors, that's where the liability lies. And then we put together an online 80-hour academic component to try to boost everybody up. Is it a full-time academy? No. Does it get people to where we need to be? Yes. And then going forward from this point on, everybody will be trained together. Much like the model that's followed in New Hampshire or Rhode Island, you go to the police academy and you learn the same. And we're here to do that, and it's places like this that are going to make it work. Creating spaces like this allows people to participate in an academically driven environment where they can focus on learning, not that it's 97 degrees at Camp Curtis Guild in Reading or 23 degrees in Camp Curtis Guild in Reading. We're here to have a first-rate facility that we can deliver training. This 36,000 square foot facility provides Bridge Academy participants with 14 classrooms to participate in in-service training. Briefly, what's a Bridge Academy for? It's a part-time cop that went to a part-time academy that works weekends to supplement the forces or when there's special events. They're trained to a 300-hour standard as opposed to an 800-hour standard. They all hold regular jobs. So how are we going to train them? We're going to run training here days, nights, weekends, holidays, Sundays if they want it. And we're going to go 7 days a week to provide off-hours training to support the officers that have real jobs and need to raise real families. Another thing we're doing, and we have a pilot running in Quinsigamond Community College, we're running a long full-time police academy. Instead of 8-hour days, it's 4-hour days, and every other Saturday for a full day. And we're delivering an 11-month academy instead of a 6-month academy to allow people that want to become part-time police officers to reach the same standard of training. It's facilities like this, in part, that will allow us to accomplish that. Other things we're going to do here is that we're going to provide leadership training. Give me a good person, I'll make you a great cop. So let's build good people. And some of this training is provided by the FBI Law Enforcement Executive Development Association, International Association of Chiefs of Police, National Association of School Resource Officers, and then our partners that are real subject matter experts. And we're blessed because of the revenue generating fund that we have the money to do this. And it's the support of Secretary Reedy and the Baker-Polito administration that gives us the ability to get to where we need to be. We'll look forward from there. In the time of regulatory change, it's important that Massachusetts digs into their use of force policies. And that was a huge issue to rewrite our use of force policies. We came together. We brought subject matter experts from everywhere from the ACLU to my defensive tactics instructor. And who is my defensive tactics instructor? I won't use his name, but I can tell you that he was aggressively pursued by the state of Minnesota to testify in the George Floyd trial because he's a national expert. That's who's teaching these folks. Our partners from the state police, such things as standardized field sobriety training, emergency vehicle operations training, hostage negotiation, crowd management. We don't live in a bubble. The colonel and I have come together to take the best use of everybody that we have. He supports me on a daily and weekly basis, as does his team, and for that I personally thank you, Colonel. Thank you very much. We're in Southbridge today because of strategic investments from the Baker-Polito administration, and as an agency, the MPT's growth across the Commonwealth provides geographically diverse options to train in regions that need training. Today, we operate 5 full-time academies in Boylston, Plymouth, Randolph, Reading, and Springfield, and we currently have operations under development in Lynnfield, Holyoke, and we'll support it from here. We offer on-demand training in firearms, defensive tactics, and driving in Ayer, Dalton, Edgartown, Haverhill, Ipswich, on Joint Base Cape Cod, Medfield, and New Braintree, just to name a few. The support we're getting from the state police and firearms training, both in support of instructors and facilities, in addition to emergency vehicle operations training, makes this entire thing possible. They are running at about 170% of their capacity to support the Bridge Academy. Again, I thank you for that, Colonel. Today, I can report that our first Bridge Academy cohort has 800 officers into training. We have a few hundred more that we need to shake out, but today there's 800 officers involved in Bridge Academy training. The impact of these academies in adopting a universal standard for the Commonwealth's 24,000 officers will strengthen public safety, security, and ultimately save lives. We're working with the Post Commission in our own lanes and our own silos to reach common goals with their support, leadership, and opinion, and our ability to provide training to move forward. I'd like to close with a word of gratitude to our partners in the private industry here at the Southbridge Innovation Center. August of 2019, my first week working, I came to Southbridge, and I met Chip Norton. The Lieutenant Governor was there, the Mass Chiefs Association, Undersecretary Reedy at the time, and Secretary Turco, who I grew a huge affinity to in a real short time. We're here, and we talked about where we're going to go. 2.5 years later, we're finally here. We cut a ribbon, and we're able to go forward. Making this beautiful space available with a community-focused purpose, it's great to my team at the MPTC, and we thank you for that. I'd also like to, somewhere in here, Joanne Gardner, who's the Academy Director over there in Boylston, that will oversee this facility. Jay, who's our facility manager that oversees all of our assets across the state, joined us from a real cool background, Symphony Hall in Tanglewood, where he did the same thing for the Boston Pops, and I'm thrilled to have him on the team. Jim O'Brien, my Chief of Staff and General Counsel, and the silent man behind the operation, John Melanda, who's the Deputy General Counsel for EOPS. Our personal relationship has grown. He keeps me focused, narrowed, and every time I have a meltdown, he gets the brunt of it. Undersecretary Peck, who we, this morning, worked a partnership out that they will also be using our facility here for training, and then Secretary Reedy, who I've worked now for 2.5 years, and it's my honor and privilege to be there. This is a great opportunity for my team, for me, and it's a great place for me to spend my retirement years, for everybody except for my wife. I thank you for that, and I cannot overstate the importance of creating the opportunities to fulfill the Bridge Academy training right here in Worcester County, and personally, I thank Lieutenant Governor Polito for your personal and professional support and that of your administration. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Bob. Like I told you, not much energy. We wouldn't be here today, of course, without Lieutenant Governor's support, but also the legislature in promoting and supporting advancement of police training here in Massachusetts. And we're fortunate to have with us today Representative Peter Duran.
Thank you, Chip. So the best thing about being a state rep is I have no responsibility here whatsoever, but I get to stand here and say, see what came to my district? This is great. No, listen, I want to be brief because the Lieutenant Governor, the Secretary, and Chief Ferrullo said all the important things that needed to be said. I want to congratulate Chip for having the vision for this space a few years ago and it took a lot of effort on his part and on everybody's part, but on Chip's part to see this through and make sure that this happened in a fantastic space to repurpose it for the town of Southbridge. It's a big win. Thank you very much, Chief. Chip, not Chief. But you know, it's funny because as I'm listening to Chief Ferrullo here, it pops into my head, of course, that my dad was a part-time police officer up in Spencer. And, of course, this was back in the 60s when he became a police officer, and at the time, there was no training, right? He got a badge. I think he had his own gun, and they said, here, just do the best you can. And so he did, and he's got a lot of good stories from that. I'm not sure I can share them, but he has a lot of good stories from that. But, you know, moving forward, right, we need to make sure that everybody's trained, and that was part of the legislation that we passed. We wanted everybody to have that standard level of training, and that's what this facility provides, and that's what we're here to celebrate today and move forward. I think the chief had mentioned that, you know, and the secretary had mentioned that, you know, these are tough times to be a police officer. I had the opportunity a couple of years ago to go to the state police facility up in New Braintree, and you go through some of the simulators and things that happen there, and I got killed 3 out of 5 times, you know, and I didn't even know it. And so these guys go through a lot of stress, and it's a tough job, a job that I wouldn't want to do and I couldn't do. And so you know, this kind of training is vitally important that they have, and I'm just so proud to have this facility here in Southbridge. And so again, I want to congratulate and thank Chip. I certainly want to congratulate the Baker-Polito administration for seeing this facility for what it is and putting forth the effort and the funds to get this facility here. It's a great win for this town and a great win for the state of Massachusetts. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Peter. Lastly, I want to bring up the town manager, Michael McCall. We've had a terrific relationship with the town for well over 20 years. It goes before building this facility. This overall project, as I mentioned before, is well over 1 million square feet. We're the largest property, obviously, in Southbridge. And so it's been an ongoing relationship with the city council, town council, and the town manager. It's been a great partnership, and they played, once again, a major role in supporting this initiative as just part of the ongoing redevelopment of the complex. Michael?
Thank you, Chip. It's an honor to be here today and part of this, and I want to thank everybody that came out, Lieutenant Governor, Secretary Reedy, Chief Ferrullo, members of law enforcement, members of our business community, and our town council. This is a great day for Central Massachusetts as well as the law enforcement community here. It's a great day for the business community here in Southbridge and our residents. We're excited to have MPTC here, which will serve to train not only our local and state law enforcement, but the men and women that serve us every day right here in Southbridge. As a former prosecutor, I know exactly the job that they do. I spent many years working with them. And the best officer that you can have on the streets and on the stand is someone who's received the proper training. And that's what they're going to get coming through MPTC. And it's not hard to imagine why Southbridge Innovation Center was picked as the facility and the site for this training facility, It's a flagship of not only the Commonwealth, but the Southbridge business community. It's been a great economic partner. They have great amenities here. You look at the campus, the hotel, the restaurant, and the state-of-the-art training facility that they have here. And we enjoy our relationship that we've had with them throughout the years. One of the key things that I want to mention is that it's been the relationship we've had with CHIP, Worcester Business Development Corporation, as well as our representatives, Representative Durant, Senator Fatman, and the Baker-Polito administration. As a host community, you can see the effort that we're making to adapt to the changing economic environment. If you come down Main Street, we're working on our infrastructure, and we'll continue to do that. We wish to be a great host to this project. We enjoy having the officers come into our community and ensuring that they're getting the proper training, and we see this as part of an ongoing revitalization and economic effort here in Southbridge, and we look forward to them enjoying the businesses that we have and supporting them. And again, I appreciate everyone coming out here today. I welcome Chief Ferrullo officially to Southbridge. I want to thank the Baker-Polito administration for all their help, And thank you all for coming out to Southbridge today. And congratulations to Chip and the Southbridge Innovation Center. And we look forward to our ongoing partnership and supporting you in every way. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. So in closing, I want to thank Karen and the administration for supporting this project. You've been a great partner of ours to make this happen. The Secretary of Public Safety's office, Bob Ferrillo. As I said before, we're honored to support law enforcement here and the training that's going to go on. Looking forward to it and hopefully standing up to the challenge. As we talked about, this is a beautiful facility. We're a gem here in central Massachusetts, and a lot of people don't know much about us. So while you're here today, if you haven't been here before, feel free to walk around. Our GM is here, Steve Gardner, if you want a tour of any of the facilities. Happy to provide it. And thanks again and welcome.